A new amendment to an existing law on missing people is designed to make the response faster. It takes effect this week. The Missing Persons Identification Act amendment was signed by the governor in August. It standardizes how information about a case is put into a database across the nation, especially for biological evidence and human remains. It also requires law enforcement to collect DNA from close relatives of the missing person and personal items of the individual 30 days after the date a person went missing. Previously, that law required that evidence 30 days following the report being received. Now, State Senator Sally Turner is a supporter who says it could help find the missing sooner while giving more peace to their loved ones.
It gives the availability of multiple reports for missing persons, and then it can all come into those different systems, and those law enforcement agencies can see the different entries and hopefully solve some of the mystery of where maybe a person is.
Turner believes this law will also help identify people who are being trafficked more efficiently. The amended law goes into effect January 1st.